Welcome to the Advanced Temporal Language Aided Search, or ATLAS for short, from Stanford University. Let's say you are a researcher at Stanford curious about the number of diabetics we treat. We can use ATLAS to find those patients. We are searching roughly 1.4 million patients and 13 million encounters. Let's start simple by finding those who have an ICD-9 code for diabetes. You can search for a disease name and ATLAS will suggest ICD-9 codes to use. Using the code 250 for diabetes, ATLAS retrieves around 62,000 patients. We can see that this cohort has more males than females who are mostly 45 to 65 years old, with between 1 and 10 encounters. We know that diagnosis codes are unreliable. So we might want to say we believe that someone has diabetes only if they also have a prescription for an anti-diabetic drug. It's recommended that new-onset diabetes be treated with metformin as the first line of defense. So let's check how many people started out treatment that way. We get around 8,600 patients. But wait, we want to make sure that they got the drug after they were assigned the diabetes ICD-9 code. We drop about 500 patients. That's better. However, we want to make sure that they got the drug within a few weeks of being diagnosed. Now we're down to about 2,900 patients. Much better. This is getting to be a long query, so let's define a variable for the diabetes patients prescribed metformin. We also know that not all patients manage to get their diabetes under control with metformin. Let's see how many patients on metformin still have a high HbA1c blood test result after their prescription. We get about 550 patients. Let's make this a new variable too. Now we can check how many patients went on to be prescribed a different anti-diabetic drug, like glipizide. About 200 patients were prescribed glipizide after being prescribed metformin and still having a high HbA1c lab result. By searching clinical notes, ATLAS can also find information about a patient's family history of disease. For the patients with diabetes, for example, we can ask if any have a family history of cardiovascular disease. Here, the tilde indicates a family history context. We find 51 such patients. We can search in specific types of notes too. Let's find diabetes patients with an outpatient progress note with a present positive mention of diabetes and untreated. ATLAS can also return the first occurrence of a disease or variable you define. For example, we can ask for patients where their first occurrence of a heart attack was after a diagnosis of diabetes. Lastly, it is possible to share variables in ATLAS for others to use. For example, someone else has created a definition for diabetic retinopathy, which we can query for. You can also download its definition. This concludes our quick walkthrough of ATLAS at Stanford, a fast and powerful search tool for patient data.